my name is Lulu and these are my books. Today we're doing a book tag. I'm very excited about this because this isn't only going to be the second ever book tag I've ever done, and honestly I'm really excited for this. This is the book recommendations tag. I'm really excited because I had a lot of thinking to do in regards to this tag because I think of myself as someone who hasn't read a lot of books. At least it doesn't feel like that. But when I do these kinds of things, it kind of makes me, I'm just like, whoa, I've read more than I thought I have. So I'm gonna do this. This tag was started by this person. I'll put their @ right here. Let's go on with it, shall we? Let's get to the questions. Number 1, recommend a book from one of your favorite genres. This one was hard. This one was kind of hard, but also sort of easy at the same time. I'm not sure exactly what my favorite genre is. But I have a lot of genres that I read between as well. However, my staple genre, the one that I go for immediately, is always going to be fantasy. So this one, you're not gonna like this one. You're not gonna like it. Of course, the first book of this video had to be an SJM. Okay, so regarding this book specifically is one of the books that really got me into reading fantasy. I personally really love this book for the simple fact that it is actually really well done for being something that the author wrote when she was 16. It's kind of like an Aragon situation with this. However, I really do enjoy this book because you can see because from this book you can see the progression in her writing. It's a great start to a great series, in my opinion. I still haven't finished it, but I mean it when I say that this is a great start to a great series. Especially if you consider the fact that she was only 16 when she wrote this. If you don't know what the Throne of Glass series is about, you clearly have not been on Booktok. What? Essentially we follow our main character, Selena Sardathian, as she is pulled from the salt mines of Endovier, and she goes from being a slave to the crown prince's champion in a competition for his father to be his father's champion thing. So essentially the prince is sponsoring her to win this. Selena specifically is an assassin, specifically the most hyped assassin in all of the world. And literally, that's the only reason the prince wants her, is she's just hyped as fuck. And so a lot happens in this book. However, if you're interested in that, go read this one. It's great. I love it, actually. And then things get absolutely wild the further you get into the series. I'm just gonna say that. Okay? Next question. Recommend a short book. Okay, so I had a lot of trouble with this, actually. I had to think for a while because I don't own a lot of short books. And also, short books is subjective. What do you consider a short book? Is it less than 200 pages or less than 350 and less, or what would you consider a short book? I don't know. I haven't read a lot of short books. However, there is this one book that I decided to pick because A, it was short, and B, it's one of my favorite things of all time. Hamlet. Okay, so I know that this is more of a screenplay, more of a play kind of thing. It's a Shakespeare novel. It's Shakespeare, quite literally. Listen. I read this in high school. It's actually the first book I've ever been okay with annotating. If you can see, there are little tabs that mark every scene as they go. However, regarding Hamlet, this book is actually the most interesting thing I've ever read regarding Shakespeare's works. And here's why I say that. This book can be summarized in one quote. Just one quote. Here's the whole plot of the book. Hamlet has so much going on. His family life is so shitty. He's going through so much after losing his dad. But here's the thing. He does nothing. Nothing. He does absolutely nothing. People die along the way. And people are also very dramatic. But then again, that's Shakespeare's style in general. Shakespeare is always about being dramatic as fuck. Right? So we're just gonna go with that. I love Hamlet simply because A, it's dramaticism, and B, just how actually ridiculous some of the scenes are. Like, I just, like, somewhat, Laertes, what is his name again? Laertes. Yes. Laertes. He literally jumps into his sister Ophelia's grave because he wants to beat Hamlet in a test of like, well, you're not grieving as fast as I am, and everybody, and it's just so absurd, but I love it so much. Listen, if you would just want absurdity in Shakespearean English, read Hamlet or King Lear. Either of those books are good for just absurdity factor, truly. Recommend a book to screen adaptation. There are some obvious ones that I can pick for this. Some very obvious ones. However, I did not pick one that was obvious. The Mortal Instrument series by Cassandra Clare. This one's actually semi-obvious. However, I tried watching it. I tried watching the screen adaptation. It was turned into a TV show. Seriously, the only thing I remember about that show is Magnus. That's it. The only thing I remember about that show is Magnus. That's it. Because that show quite truly just was made to be the most one-dimensional show that I ever read. But the thing is, they kept Magnus being sassy. At least that's what I remember of it. Magnus was still sassy, and I think that's the only thing that really kept me watching the show. I didn't even finish it. I got halfway through, and then I just stopped watching it, and I forgot about it. Honestly, I forgot that this book was turned into a show until I literally saw it on YouTube with like, you can watch this for free, you just have to watch the ads. I was like, damn, okay. So yeah, if you don't know anything about what the Mortal Instrument series is about, it's essentially, we follow our main character, Clary Frey, who is essentially, who is wrapped into the world of shadow hunters, because her mother, goes missing, and now she has to find her mother, but she has to, enlist the help of the shadow hunters. And there's so much going on with this series. There's a bunch of twists and turns, there's a bunch of confusion going around within this series. City of Glass is the best book in my opinion. However, my thing with the series is that if I choose to read it again, I don't know how much I would like it compared to the Infernal Devices trilogy. I love the Infernal Devices trilogy. It's literally my favorite thing on this planet. You cannot tell me otherwise. I will accept no criticism on that series. Swear. Recommend a book that's outside of your comfort zone. And for this one, I'm pretty sure this one's kind of obvious. Because it's A, my new favorite book of all time, and B, one that is the most out of my comfort zone that could ever be possible. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I fucking adored this book. I adored it. Absolutely. And I think I adored it so much because I knew nothing going into it. No one ever talked about it, at least not that I've seen. Not that I looked it up either way. No one ever talked about it. No one really talked anything about the plot, just the characters, because the characters are really what just happens. The whole point of this book is that you vibe with Addie. If you do not vibe with Addie, this book will fall so flat for you. However, if you don't know anything about this book, we essentially follow our main character, Adeline LaRue, and she goes by Addie anyways. And essentially she makes a deal with a god. And essentially this god gives her immortality. She's able to live forever. However, no one will remember her. Anyone she meets will literally forget her when she's out of their view. Until she meets up in the 21st century with this boy named Henry, who actually who remembers her because he was cursed by the same god. So regarding this book, this book was so good. I love it so much. But it was completely outside of what I would normally read. I normally read fantasy, anything with like an escapism aspect. However, this book is very much set in the real world. It's very much set within the limits of that. And to be entirely honest, the way this book was written and the way it's told, I love it. I actually love the way this book progressed. It was so good. And also Addie, being in Addie's head, being in Henry's head as well, was just so jarring to me because I've been where these two are multiple times. I've just been in this I've been in their shoes a lot. I've been in their thinking a lot. And honestly, this book made me cry. Like, I cried so hard regarding this book. It was not even funny. I still love it, and I'm still going to reread it, and at some point I'm going to annotate it. But Jesus Christ, this book literally put me in my feels. So far in my feels. So yeah, if you want heartbreak, read it. Recommend a book series. So this one I had to think about a little bit because there are lots of book series out there that, there are lots of book series out there that you really don't, that are really popular that are really, really popular, like the Percy Jackson series or The Diviners by Libba Bray. Or like any of the ones like ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, from Blood and Ash, those kinds of series. However, this series, no one talks about it. And it's so good. The Unwind Dystology by Neil Shusterman. Literally, it is a 4-book series, 4-book sci-fi series, that is literally so relevant today. It's literally a world where, it's essentially, this book essentially tells of a world where there was a second civil war fought on the issue of reproductive rights, and abortion was banned. However, a new form of retroactive re-abortion was instituted where when a child is 13 or older, the parents could fill out paperwork to essentially have them unwinded, which is essentially just taken apart and used as taken apart, like every one of their organs, all of their limbs, all of that taken apart and used in medical practices. So essentially like a replacement limb, replacement heart, all of that kind of shit. This is so relevant for today. Especially in America. This book does take place in America. It starts in Ohio. And I'm dead serious. It essentially we follow 3 main characters at the beginning of this book anyways. Connor, who is being unwound by his parents. Risa, who is awarded the state and is being unwound due to budget cuts, and Levi, who is essentially part of a new religious who is a member of a religion where essentially you can offer your children to God in the form of unwinding them. And it's absolutely wild because this book takes on so many different perspectives from these children. And honestly, every book of this is such an adventure. I love it so much. And honestly, I've been wanting to reread it for forever. I read this in middle school. I love it so much. Honestly, I don't know why people sleep on this series. I don't know why people sleep on Neil Shusterman in general. However, if you want a book that's very relevant for today, this one, read it. I swear to God. Recommend a standalone. So I had to think about this really hard because I haven't read a lot of standalones in my time. I really haven't. However, the one standalone that really stuck out to me, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is one of my favorite books, literally. I will not shut up about this book. To anybody. Swear to God. Hi, Mom. Anyways, I won't shut up about this book. If you don't know anything about this book, you've been sleeping under a rock and you need to get out from under it and read this book. Essentially, we follow our two main characters, Celia and Marco, who are trapped in this magical duel of sorts in, I think it's Victorian or Edwardian England. I can't, like Edwardian times. It's in the 1800s. I know that. However, they're trapped in this magical duel. However, they are trained, they're trapped in this, my God. They are trapped in this magical duel. But the catch is, they don't know the rules of this duel. Essentially, it's essentially a contest to see which one of them is the strongest, or which, it's essentially a last man standing contest, but they don't know that. Their trainers have trained them from birth to quite literally be pawns in this game to see which trainer is actively the better, like magician or whatnot. And essentially what happens is that they fall in love, and that's not supposed to happen in this one. So essentially, this kind of, the story progresses from there. It's really, really good. My explanation was not, however, this book is so good, and I've been meaning to pick up The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. However, I haven't found an edition that I actually like, that I want to actually have on my shelves. So yeah, I really, really like this book. It's so good. Like, I will not hear any argument on that point. It's so good. I love it so much. It's magical realism. It's so good. It's historical setting. So freaking good. My God. Recommend a book you don't talk enough about. So, I don't know. Regarding this book, I don't talk about it. I've read it. However, I don't talk about it very much. Mainly because I don't know if it's because I either didn't like it, or if it's because of the trauma it induced on me. This is also another book that's also very relevant for the times. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I read this for a project in school. For a project in school, I had to read 2 books by her. I read this and Alias Grace. I have not read the Testaments yet. However, once I reread this, I will be reading the Testaments. I'm not excited. The reason I don't talk about this book is because of how hard this book hit me. It hit me, like, I swear to God, like a whole freaking bullet train carrying a large cargo of freight. I'm not even joking. If you don't know this book, we follow our main character, Offred, who is a handmaid. Essentially, and a handmaid is essentially one of the few fertile women left able to produce children in a world where fertility rates have essentially dropped to 0. And it's in an organized society where essentially these women are ferried out to different high-ranking men to produce children for them. In this world where abortion is no longer a thing, whatever you are doing, you have to carry this pregnancy to term, whatever, and all of that. Here's the thing that gets me about this book. This book, no matter what, feels so relevant. It feel like it hits you. This book hits you in a kind of in a way that you really would never really expect. It just, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't even know what I'm trying to say. This book just hits you in so many different places because it tackles so many different thoughts, ways of thinking, and it actually shows you the kind of world that people are afraid that America will turn into, that it is turning into these days. Because there's a specific scene in this book where people from other countries are actually coming to this version of America and actually having conversations with these people, and with the tyrannical government reigning over them, it's just like what they have to say versus what they want to say. It's so good. Like, the way it's done is just so good. I don't really know how else to describe this book other than gut-wrenching. Because it really just hits you in the gut and does not stop until you finish this book. And even then, it will literally plague your mind. I don't know what drugs Atwood was on to write this and have it hit so hard. But Jesus Christ, this lady didn't have to do it, but she did it, and I read it, and I'm still traumatized. Recommend your staple book. There are several books I could have used for this. I talk about a lot of different books. It could have either been Throne of Glass or another book that I read. However, I'm choosing the Percy Jackson series. I'm choosing the Percy Jackson series because this is the one series that literally gives me so much serotonin every time I look at it. I no joke. I read this in middle school. Most certainly, I love this book. And specifically, I love this book for the simple fact that I very much remember. I remember in middle school when I started reading it, my friend gave this to me. And this was actually her copy. I remember she gave this to me. And quite literally, I showed this to my pre-algebra teacher because the first chapter is literally named, I accidentally vaporized my pre-algebra teacher. And my pre-algebra teacher was like, now listen here. Like, he was great. I liked the man. Really did like the man. However, this book gives me so much serotonin every time I look at it. And honestly, I'm excited to pick up the new covers, honestly. I've been trying to find the originals. I've really been trying to find them, but I just cannot for the life of me. So I'm going to have to settle for the new covers. Luckily, the new covers are actually really good, so I'm not mad about it. However, I'm keeping this edition. This is probably going to be the only book that I have multiple editions of, simply because I just love it so much. And also, this book itself holds sentimental value. Honestly, and if you know nothing about the Percy Jackson series, I quite literally want to hit you over the head with this book and then force you to read it because it is literally great. We essentially follow our main character, Perseus Jackson. We call him Percy, or Persassy, if you know what I mean. As he finds out that he's a demigod, the son of Poseidon, and how he goes to a camp every summer, fighting monsters with a sword, and him having control over the ocean, and he has like perfect bearing at sea too. It's weird. However, within this book, we follow so many challenges that Percy goes through as he grows up, and it's honestly so good for anyone, of any age. Honestly, I love this series, love it so much, and I like how Chalice of the Gods is also a continuation of this. I'm excited. I'm so excited. So excited. My God. And then, last but not least, recommend the books that got you into reading. We already know this. I've told the story several times, but if you don't, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Listen to me. This was the first ever book that I read okay, so I'm not going to say that. My reading kick started in middle school. No joke. And when I read this book, it literally opened up an entire world of like escapism for me. This was in the library. I read the entire series in a week. It was so good. I loved it so much. And honestly, I think if I go back to read it, I would probably go back and annotate it because I don't remember a lot. I remember the important stuff. I remember some small details, but I don't remember a lot because this was several years ago. However, I did love this book so much, and I think it will always have a special place in my heart, regardless of whether when I go back to read the series and I dislike it. I think I don't really know if I'm going to like it as much as I did then. However, I will be keeping this series simply because of the fact that I know exactly the fact that I loved this book, and it has a very special place in my heart for being one of the first books I read that really truly got me into reading reading. This book is just one of those things that sings near and dear to my heart, and I will never let go about it. I will never shut up about it. I love it. I loved it so much. If you don't know anything about the Hunger Games, I don't know where you've been for the past decade and a half or so. However, we follow our main character, Katniss Everdeen. If you've never heard that name before, you really need to get out of the house or be on the internet at least. My God. We follow our main character, Katniss Everdeen, as she takes her sister's place in the Hunger Games. And it kind of just goes from there. There's a little bit of like a love corner type thing going on in here. However, if you ignore that, the rest of the book, stellar. So yeah, love this book. Read it. Swear to God. But anyways, guys, that brings this video to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more from more from me, please hit that subscribe button and hit the notification icon so you get notified every time I post a new video. I post weekly on this channel, so don't miss out. And also, if you want, and also comment down below what you want to see from me, the books you think I should read, what books I should move up my TBR, what books I should put on my TBR, or just say hi. I always get really excited when I see your comments. It makes me feel so happy and appreciated. Guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I love my little Lumas. Bye!